It's okay. We're live on YouTube right now, and then Facebook is live
All
right
right.
now.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. This channel, as I've mentioned before, is really all about how to live your best life, your happiest life, and most fulfilling life. And since it's about life, we're going to cover pretty much every topic there is: happiness, purpose, relationships, money, and wealth. There's a big one there. That's my background is in finance, so we'll definitely talk about where wealth fits in with happiness. That's always a fun conversation. Health, work, entrepreneurship, and just everything in between. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. Today's a big one. It's one of my first lives ever, and really I'm looking to share the core shift that I've made in my life over the last 10 years or so, and it's really kind of changed my life forever. And it's a shift that took me 10 years to understand. It took me that long to make this shift. It's been a long journey, and it continues to be a journey. It's never there's no end to it. But I felt it was time after 10 years, and what I've been able to find for myself in terms of happiness and peace and contentment. I wanted to share some of that learning with everyone. So that's really what started this channel, and that's what this session is about today in particular. Kind of an overview of the shift that I've made in my life over the last 10 years, and hopefully it can help others start to make a shift as well. And then as we move forward and get into some of these subtopics, we'll go deeper. We'll get into the specifics on what you can do today to, specific steps to start making that same shift in your life. So today's a big overview, but we're going to get in as deep as we can. So a little bit about me. I'm an ambitious guy. I'm competitive. From when I was little, everything for me was setting big goals and trying to hit those goals. And I was really competitive with myself and with others on getting there. And so my whole life's been that way. It didn't matter if it was school, sports, it was everything. I wanted to be the best, and I set big goals for myself. That's just how I was driven. And so kind of, going through life, I was kind of always doing what people and the world told me I should be doing, right? I went to school. I got good marks because I was told I should get good marks. I played sports quite competitively, and I graduated. I finished top of my class. I got a great job, and all of a sudden I was 25 and I was lost and unhappy. And no one knew that. Truly, no one. Everyone looked at me and would have thought that this was a very happy guy who had everything figured out, everything going for him. Truly, I finished top of my class in finance, majored in finance, McMaster University, finished top of my class. I got a great job out of school. I had a wife at 25 who was fantastic. Had a house and an investment property already, so I owned two properties. I was 25. I had everything going for me on paper, or at least what everyone told me that I should have. And so here I was as a 25-year-old. Everyone thinks I'm living the dream life, and I was lost. And I felt that my world was kind of caving in around me. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing anymore. And ultimately, I hit a low. My marriage broke down. I was divorced at 26. So I got married at 24. Everything seemed great. At 26, I was divorced, and it got worse for me from there. I really kind of hid from everyone. I lost all my confidence, direction, purpose. I lost 26-year-old who felt like he lost his friends. I just hid from everyone, lost connections with my family, and I was alone and not knowing where to go. And so to get into that deep of a hole, when I thought I spent my whole life doing all the things I was supposed to do, right? I did what I was told, right? I went to school, I got the good marks, I worked hard, I was ambitious, I went after it, and yet still, somehow, at 26, I was lost and unhappy. And so at 26, I'm now 36. At 26, I had to start asking myself some hard questions. It took me a while to even start asking. I was so in my own dark hole and truly depressed. And at some point, when I hit rock bottom for myself, I was asking that question, like, how did I get here? How did I do all the right things and end up here, alone and lost? And starting to ask myself those questions is what started what has now been a 10-year journey of trying to figure out how to find or create sustained happiness for myself. And what it meant for other people to be happy, what really made people happy, and how can you hold on to happiness. So I started to ask all those questions. I started to ask questions more about who I am, like what are my values. I started right from the beginning. And it was a long, hard road. I didn't turn things around right away. It was, month by month, year by year, I started to, improve myself. And really that started from improving my understanding of myself and of life and gaining new perspectives and changing my perspectives from what everyone told me they should be to really thinking for myself about what happiness looked like for me. So that's really what this is about. This is why I started this channel. It's why I'm on social media, because I wanted to share what I've learned and see if I can help others make a shift in their own lives. So that's what this is all about, and let's dive into it. So first off, asking that question of what is happiness? That was that starting point for me. And again, years and years of asking that question of others. I spent a lot of time asking other people, what's happiness for them, to gain my perspectives. And ultimately, where I've landed and then what's helped me make a massive shift is understanding that at the core, everything with happiness starts with having a clear purpose. And that might sound obvious, and so we'll get into some of the specifics here. But it's important to know that happiness is fully internal. You are in control of your own happiness. It's nothing that's external. It's not what's happening to you. It's not about are things going well, are they not going well? Because of course that's out of your control, and your happiness is going to be all over the place. If things are going well, you'll be happy. If they're not going well, you're going to be unhappy, and life shouldn't be that way. And so really it is driven internally, and it comes down with having clear conviction in your purpose and actively pursuing that purpose. And so think about that again. If you realize that happiness is simply knowing exactly what you're here to do and why, like really understanding that, then that's what's going to drive your energy every day. And if you're actively pursuing it, that's what's making you happy. It doesn't matter about the outcomes. All of a sudden, it's about actively pursuing your purpose. If you're doing that every day, you have conviction in your purpose and you're actively pursuing it, that's what's going to drive your happiness. And so, talking about it a little bit more here, right from evolution, right? I don't know how many billions of years we've been evolving, but all species, including humans, have been the same, that we require purpose to exist. Everything starts from purpose. If there's no why, then it just, nothing adds up. And so, really think about it. So what's changed recently with evolution? So up until the last, couple hundred years or whatnot, purpose for all beings, including humans, was really straightforward, right? Your purpose was survival, providing for, protecting your family, and surviving. That was your purpose. And so there wasn't questions about happiness and how do I find it. Your purpose was so clear that wasn't really a question. Purpose was all that mattered. What's changed in the last couple hundred years or so is that for most of modern society, first world developed countries, survival and all of these basic necessities, for most people, it is assumed. You have that already. And so once survival and your basic needs have been met, now all of a sudden you need to find what's moving you forward. What is your purpose? Why are you waking up tomorrow? What are you doing? And why does it matter? And so that's the question that especially the even more recently in the last 40, 50 years, it's getting more and more difficult, right? The world is fast moving, it's chaotic, social media is everywhere, you're comparing yourself constantly to the world. Now everyone's more confused than ever about what their purpose is. It's a pretty new phenomenon. So are we surprised that people are struggling with mental health and depression, anxiety? It is prevalent in the modern society now, but it's not a surprise. It's because we don't know what our purpose is anymore, and we try to copy everyone else's purpose, and it changes constantly. And so, of course, if you can't figure out where your purpose is, you can't find your sustained happiness either. It's not a coincidence. And so, purpose equals happiness. Without purpose, here in the middle, nothing has meaning. So, if you are truly lost, if you don't know what your purpose is, you are likely to you're aimless. You have low energy. You probably hit snooze a lot when you wake up in the morning. You don't have purpose to your day-to-day life. And so what often happens is you look to escape it, whether you realize it or not. You actually seek just comfort, escaping life, because sitting on the couch is not living. But if sitting on a couch watching TV distracts you from life because you don't know what your purpose is, that's exactly what you end up doing. You end up searching and chasing either comfort or dopamine hits to distract you from the fact that you don't have purpose and happiness in your day-to-day. It's like everyone has it backwards. We are living for the evenings and weekends where we are actually escaping real life. Now think about that again. It's almost everyone you know. Chances are that the reality is we are rat race of some kind. The days are chaotic and busy. Most of us work 9 to 5s or whatever we're doing. And we are waiting for our evenings and weekends to be happy in those moments, which is, of course, an escape from your actual life. That's not life. That's not living. And so it's wild how all of a sudden we spend now our whole lives confused, right? You think our happiness is where we're just comfort. It's where we're not doing anything. It's where we're not working. It's where we don't have anything to do. That's when I'm happy. And so you start chasing these dopamine hits of relaxation or hiding from the world or spending money, any kind of adrenaline that can spark some moments of excitement. You're chasing all the wrong stuff. You're chasing the dopamine hits. You're chasing comfort, which are all an escape from actual life. It is wild when you look around and you realize that that's what's happening for the majority of people. It's scary. Now, think of it now the other way. When you've had moments of clarity around your purpose, even if it's on a smaller scale, right? If you are really excited about something you're currently working on for yourself or for school or for work, whatever it might be, but you're really excited and passionate about it. You know that tomorrow you're going to be working on X and you know why, and it means something to you. When you have that kind of purpose, everything changes. You jump out of bed because you have energy, because you have purpose. You know what you're after. Everything shifts when you have purpose, and all of a sudden the little things don't matter. So if you're so excited about something that means so much to you, all of a sudden you're less irritable. Little things don't bother you. You overcome challenges like nothing because you are just so intent and focused on what matters to you in that moment, that clear purpose. It changes who you are. You are different around other people. You're more confident, all from just having a simple purpose, even if it's a small, silly thing. But if you find value in it, it changes who you are. So the key is, of course, purpose equals happiness and vice versa. That's the major learning here. But then the key is, how are you finding sustainable purpose to then achieve sustainable happiness? Right, that is now the question, and the big question, right? What's one's purpose, and how do you find it, and all that nonsense? Well, I'm going to make things really simple for you. Your purpose. Let's go to the next slide here. Actually, no. You know what? Before we go into what your purpose is, I'm going to leave you hanging. I'm going to share some more examples on where people struggle in finding their purpose. So, the way I think of it, or the way I've seen it and experienced it, is that there's kind of two ends of the spectrum on where people struggle to find their purpose. And it doesn't mean you're one or the other. You might have moments of being one and the other, or you might be some of both. but they're very different, and you can know for yourself where you fit in on this spectrum, if at all. The first is where you don't know your purpose at all, and you feel lost, unhappy, and depressed. And I would say, for me, this is where I was as that 26-year-old. When everything kind of caved in, and I started asking this question, this is where I was lost, and I was this version of unhappy, this version of confused about purpose. I didn't know what it was. And when that happens, and you can think if this applies to you or people you're just kind of walking through life almost aimlessly. You are getting up and doing the same thing every day. You're waking up, you're getting ready for work, you're going to work, you're getting stuck in traffic, you're getting angry about the traffic, you're coming home tired and irritable, you're doing your best to maybe try to make a healthy meal, but you're not excited about it, or if you just don't have the energy, you're going to get takeout, you're going to relax on the couch, and you're going to do it all over again. And you're going to do the same thing every day without any sort of energy. And over time, the longer this goes on, where you're only relying on your weekends to find moments of excitement, you start to become less and less yourself. You lack drive and ambition. You lack discipline. You have low self-confidence and increasingly low self-confidence. You feel insecure. You have trouble loving yourself because you're not proud of yourself, because you don't know what you're doing with your life. And you crave comfort, you crave dopamine, right? That's that escape from the realization that you don't enjoy your life, and you're not happy. You search for those distractions. Social media, scrolling aimlessly on social media without any purpose becomes all too common. You often do it in front of loved ones. You're around people you love, and yet you're trying to escape your life even still because you're addicted to it. This is what, unfortunately, whether people admit it to themselves or not, this is the life for so many people where they don't have purpose. On the other, end of the spectrum, and I was here too, it's kind of the opposite. It's you feel like you do have a clear sense of purpose, but you're attaching it to the wrong things. And this is equally as dangerous, and it can really screw up your life. And this is where I was my whole life, call it leading up to when I was 26. Focused, clear, specific goals for myself. And so this is to my fellow overthinkers out there, because I'm an analytical guy. I'm often in my head, and there's some challenges that come with this. And so this is, someone who's on this end, you'll find that they're ambitious, they set high goals for themselves, they have high expectations for themselves and other people around them, they work pretty hard, and yet what you find is that you're attaching your purpose to very specific goals in the future. And what that's doing is you're actually attaching your happiness today to future outcomes or goals that you have arbitrarily set up for yourself. And the danger in doing this is that there's too many dangers that I have realized myself at 26, is that you're kind of you're prescribing your life before it's even going. You are doing what you think is right or what other people are telling you is right by setting these specific goals for yourself and timelines, and then you're waiting to be happy for when you reach them. It's not that there's a problem with setting goals. It's attaching your purpose and your happiness to those specific outcomes and whether you're on track to meet them or not. Because then what's going to happen along the way is you're going to realize those specific goals aren't right, and you lose sense of your purpose, or you've achieved them and you're asking now what? And what these overthinkers do is you might feel bipolar, because you are really, really happy and energetic when you feel like things are going well for you and that you're on track to those specific goals. But when you start to feel like those aren't the right goals, or it's not going well and you have to change track and you feel lost again, now you have crazy lows. So you have high highs and low lows. You're often anxious. You're often distracted. These overthinkers on the right-hand side, you're like me. You spend so much time in your head worrying about the future, worrying about whether you're going to hit those goals or whether you're in your head, and you'll find, loved ones are talking to you and you're stressing, you're thinking about what you need to do tomorrow to make sure you're on track. You're not living today. You are missing your life today by doing what you think you're supposed to be doing. And so you may see some of both in yourself or one or the other, but to me, these are the two kind of opposing struggles that people have. Either you just don't know what your purpose is, or you're attaching it to the wrong things, and then missing out on today and not feeling happy today. You're waiting to be happy. So to simplify this, the what is your happiness, right? What the F is my purpose then? How do I find sustained purpose? And therefore, with sustained purpose that you're pursuing every day, you also will find that sustained happiness today. You're not waiting for it, you know it today. So what is your purpose? Well, thankfully, what I have realized and found to be true in every case, I've yet to find someone to prove me wrong, that everyone's purpose is the same. And your purpose is simply to become the best version of yourself. That's it. Your only purpose is to become the best version of yourself and then give that person back to the people around you and to the world. That's it. And so we're gonna go deeper into what I mean by this, because it may sound simple, and this will change your life. If you believe this to be true, if you can believe this, you will see how it changes everything, how everything starts to fall in place when you realize that all that matters is that you are getting better every day. And so every day your purpose is to wake up and be a better version of yourself than you were yesterday, to identify how I can be better and keep closing the gap on becoming a better version of yourself. So while everyone's purpose is the same, it's to be your best self, of course, this is going to look different for all 8 billion people, however many are on the planet today, because that then, of course, depends on, genetics, situation, privilege, passions, interests, intelligence, whatever it may be. The what will be unique for everyone. But at the core, the purpose is the same for all. And it's a snowball effect. So when you realize that this is your core purpose and all you need to do is get better every day, you start to realize a bunch of other things too. You start to realize that having conviction in this purpose, if all you cared about was getting better every day, it's inevitable that you would also live your best life, right? So think about that. They go hand in hand. If all you are trying to do is be better, gaining more perspectives, learning, building skills, always trying to be better, then aren't you then also making sure you're doing everything within your control? Because the only thing you can control is you. So if the only thing you can control is you and your behavior and your mindset, and all you were trying to do was be better, then that's what's going to do. You're going to be doing everything in your power to live your best life. So you no longer have to worry or stress about the what ifs. It doesn't matter. You're just going to control what you can, which is being better every day. And the rest of this whole live session, and really most of what I talk about, will come back to this purpose, and you'll start to see all the other connections that once you start with this, everything else starts to fall into place. And so when you first see it, you might think it's, an entirely selfish purpose. It is. Your only purpose is you. That's it. It's entirely selfish. But then the best part about this, one of the best, there's lots, and you'll start to find these realizations like I did, and you'll find more. That's endless. It'll always continue. But in this purely selfish purpose, it is also the most selfless purpose. Because guess what? If you are the best version of yourself, then you are also you must then also be the best version for everyone around you. Think about it. If your only purpose is to be better, you're going to be healthier. You're going to be a better spouse, a better parent, better friend. You're going to have broader perspectives. You're going to have more skills and knowledge, more empathy, more patience, more presence and gratitude. You're going to have more control over your emotions. You'll have a better mindset. As the best version of yourself, you are the best for everyone, and you will have the greatest positive impact on the people around you and the world as your best self. And so when you realize all this, when you realize that this is a fully self-fulfilling prophecy, that if you believe your only purpose is to get better, that's all that matters, and that in doing that, you're going to be the best for everyone around you, and you must then also live your best, most fulfilling life for all of these same reasons, it becomes self-fulfilling. All you have to do is believe this and start the path on becoming better every day. Make this your purpose, that's all that matters. Stop worrying about all the specifics, all the stuff you have going on in your life that are stressing you out. Remove it from your brain and start today with this purpose. And what are you going to do tomorrow to start? It doesn't matter where you are today, and that's the other best part. This doesn't matter if you are extremely wealthy and successful and mostly happy, or if you feel like you're fully depressed, you're lost and confused, or what you've done, mistakes you've made, it doesn't matter. If today you decide that this purpose is true for you, that all you are going to care about moving forward, the only thing you're going to care about is what you can control, which is being better, then everything else is self-fulfilling. You will live your best life. You will be the best person for everyone around you. You will live your dream life. That's how this purpose connects everything else. Everything else flows from this purpose. And so, I mean, think about it. If you're your best self, if you have all these, like we said, broader perspectives, more knowledge, more skills, the level of you will be more you in every way. You will experience life more fully. You will love harder and more deeply. You will help more people. You will be kinder to everyone. You will attract more opportunities constantly. So if that's if you're being your best self, not only will you have the skills and knowledge to better execute on any opportunities that come your way, whatever they may be, you're going to attract them constantly because of the person that you are. You're going to attract, more people are going to want to work with you because of the person that you are. You're going to experience more, and you're going to be able to be part of everything that life has to offer you if you can focus just on you. Be selfish, 100% selfish, and start living your best life. Making sure I don't miss any key points here. I have some notes in front of me. So you know what? I think we've covered here. Let's go to this next piece, and we'll start diving in a little bit further. So this is the core, and so the next slides here. What we'll do is get into some of the other principles or considerations when you're trying to think about where you start and how you get better. So rules of life. We're going to cover lots of rules of life in all these lives that I do and other content that I create. Rules of life are essentially, once you understand this purpose, and then you kind of have this list of the rules of life, it kind of governs your approach to everything. It changes your mindset about how to think of whatever issues you might be dealing with in your life. And so there's lots more, but we're going to start with a few. So 3 rules of life for getting better. So that's now your purpose. My goal is just to be a better version of me. Well, okay, what does that look like? Where do I start? Well, consider these 3 rules of life for sure, and think about how you can start implementing them. First, accountability. Huge, right? So think of getting better, learning. These are things that are universally true and accepted, right? So we're not making stuff up here. People get better and they learn when they take accountability for something, right? And so, because again, all you can control is you. So if something isn't going the way you want it to go, or someone's bothering you, if you constantly just simply look inwards, it doesn't matter about anyone else or any other thing, it's immediately, what did I do there? What can I do differently, and how can then I get better, right? And so, looking back on all the mistakes that I've made and that I will continue to make, the difference now is that when those mistakes are made, I am catching myself in the act constantly, small things to bigger things. When things aren't going the way I want them to go, I'm constantly asking that question. What can I be doing differently? And as soon as you just start taking accountability for everything, stop blaming other people or the world. You just always are looking inwards and figuring out what did I do wrong there? Or how would I want to do that differently moving forward? Now, again, your only purpose is to get better. So you're constantly looking for ways to get better. You're excited about getting better because that's your only purpose. So now no more making excuses, blaming stuff. No, you're going to find that you want to take accountability, because as soon as you do, as soon as you actually take accountability for mistakes that you've made, you immediately figure out the learning and what went wrong. And as soon as you do that, you know how to be better moving forward. It's incredibly powerful. But it takes time, and you have to start catching yourself where you're not taking accountability. First, you need to take accountability with yourself, but then with everyone around you. Start being more honest and real about the mistake that you made. Point at yourself first. Share that with people. Be honest. It'll be new and different for them and for you, but the difference of starting to take accountability for where you are in your life will change everything. Every decision that you've made up to this point has determined where you are now. That's where it starts with accountability, right? If you really think about it, wherever you are today, if you're going to start taking accountability, start taking accountability for where you are today, whether you're happy or not, things are going well or not. It has nothing to do with anything else other than you and the decisions and choices and the habits that you've had in place until now. Now, the key is you're not looking to beat yourself up when you're taking accountability. You're not. It's not that you're blaming yourself. Big difference between blaming yourself and taking accountability. Lots of people are fine to blame themselves and talk negatively about themselves. That's not what you're looking to do here. It's learning. Accountability is wanting to be aware and to learn. It's a growth mindset. It's a learning mindset to want to be accountable. And so it's a different approach. It's exploring what you could have done differently for the sake of learning, not to blame yourself. We're all going to make endless mistakes. What's the point in beating yourself up about it and lowering your confidence and getting stressed? No, it's none of that. I think of accountability as very different than maybe you have to this point. It's about becoming better. It's about learning. And so if you're in a disagreement with your spouse, and this is a huge one, right? Relationships is where the biggest area to take accountability is. You're in a disagreement with a friend or a spouse or a parent. To be able to sit back and stop thinking about the other person, what they did, what they're not listening, they're not understanding. If all you did moving forward was then look back and figure out how you can be better for that person in this situation. How can you adjust in order to be better, to have a better conversation, to learn more about that other person, to understand where they're at, and maybe shift your own thinking, shift your own behavior. Once you start to do this consistently, everything changes, everything gets easier. And it's not a coincidence as to why, we already talked about it. The only thing you can control in your life is your thoughts and your behavior. That's it. And of course, if that's the only thing you can control, that's the only thing you should really be thinking about. Nothing else actually matters. What's the point of blaming other people or other things for what they're doing or saying if you have no control over those things? What's the point of thinking about those things? All you can think about is what can you think about differently and what can you do differently to be better for you and the people around you. And that's what accountability is. And so if you're wanting to start, it's probably digging through some baggage, because we all have it and we're all scared of it, right? And so this is another place where people are at, right? They're where they are in their life, and they're kind of going through the motions, and they're trying to escape their life with evenings and weekends, as we've been talking about. It's too common. Almost everyone is in this space in some fashion, or the vast majority. And we all, for that same reason, we're hiding from something. We're hiding from a lack of purpose, or realizing we're not actually happy, or all the other baggage that we're carrying from our life, from past traumas. It's probably a long list for everyone. And so if you're going to be starting this path forward of getting better, likely the first place you need to start is finally start asking yourself some of those hard questions. And that's what I was doing at 26. I didn't do it consciously. I didn't, I didn't know the perfect thing to do in the moment. It was quite the opposite. I was so confused and lost that question was the only thing left. I had hit rock bottom, and at some point, I think I even remember the first time in my head I had asked myself that question, and I was not in a good place. I'm pretty sure in the bathroom, sitting in a stall at work. I just called my sister actually, because I didn't know what else to do. She was one of the only people I still felt that I had a connection with. And I was just telling her I was in a bad place, and she was trying to talk me through it. And I ultimately went to the bathroom to sit in a stall by myself. And I had asked that question out loud, which was, how am I here? How did I get here? I thought I had been doing everything the right way. I had tried with everything, be a good person, pursue things hard, set goals, do all the right things. And yet I was the darkest place you can get to. And that question is all that was left. How am I here? Why am I here? And that started the accountability, because the only answers that were left, I couldn't blame other people or the world anymore for why I was there. I couldn't blame my spouse at the time. I couldn't blame anyone but me. But then it was the first time I started to shift it from blame, because up until that point, to get that dark of a hole, believe me, there was a lot of blaming myself. But what had actually shifted was I was actually curious. I was no longer blaming myself. I actually just wanted an answer. How and why am I here today after all of this? And that was the start. That day at 26 years old, separated, moving towards divorce, I asked that question, and I've been asking it ever since. The good news, of course, is that the more I kept asking the question, the more I learned, and the more I was able to shift my life and turn it around. But at that time, it started with accountability, and that question opened up a lot. I spent the next number of weeks, months, still mostly on my own, because I wasn't ready I didn't know myself anymore. So that question sparked everything. What was I doing wrong to get to this point, to end up where I am today? What did I do? And what do I need to start changing about myself, my thoughts, and my behavior to live a happier life? And when I started asking that question, it all started to come up. But it was no longer blaming myself. It was more realizations like, geez, I had it all wrong. Clearly, I had it all wrong. And so I started to find out where I had it wrong. And a new realization, talking to more people about it, because now I was interested in this topic in general, this topic of happiness, sustained happiness, what keeps people happy. And so it became a passion of mine. I started having deep conversations with friends. We used to only talk about surface level crap. And all of a sudden, I was just, out of curiosity, just starting to ask bigger questions of the people around me to gain different and new perspectives and help that shape my own thinking. And it became this sense of purpose where I just wanted to learn more about how to be happy, how to live my best life, because I'd been doing it wrong. And it changed everything. And I will never stop asking that question about where am I today? Why am I here? And how can I be better? And that's what accountability is. It's not blaming yourself, but it's just only ever looking inwards to know how can I be better. That's the big one, and it's the starting point. Okay, full on shift here. The next rule, again, facts, known, universal truth. I'm not making this up. We all know this. You get better by doing all of the hard things. So think about what that actually means, right? Failing, right? Trying and failing. You learn way more from failing than you do from success. Many successful people will argue you don't learn anything from success. What have you learned? You did something and it worked. That's it. When you fail, that's when you have to ask yourself that question. Like, what went wrong? How do I get better? And so doing the hard things, I think about everything that's included with that. So getting out of your comfort zone, right? That's a hard thing. You like to be comfortable. So whatever makes you uncomfortable, simply doing whatever that is makes you better. You don't have to even worry about what it is. Just do it, right? If it makes you uncomfortable today and you do it, you'll be better for it. You'll be more resilient. You'll be a better person, regardless of what the actual thing is. Look for ways to get out of your comfort zone. Taking risks on yourself. Just do it. I don't mean gambling. That's taking risks in general. No, take risks on yourself. Believe in yourself. Take those risks. Again, fail, make mistakes, learn, overcome. All hard things. Getting through tough times. So when the world is throwing crap at you, because that happens, you think at the end of the day, if you are then looking inward still and knowing that if I get through this, if I then take whatever is in my control, whatever the hard thing is, there's always something in your control to get through it. Whether it's specific action you need to take, behavior, or whether it's controlling your thoughts and changing the way you think about what is happening to you. There's always a way to take the negative that's happening in your life, and you get to decide what you do with it, how you react to the world. And if you know that getting through the hardest times in your life is just simply going to make you better, make you more resilient, give you more confidence that you can handle anything, every single time you get through hard things or the hardest times in your life, you will snap back to be a better version of yourself. You might hit a low. It might be so hard on you that you feel lesser than in that moment. But if you are reminding yourself that if I just find a path forward here, what can I do? What's in my control to get through this? Find that light at the end of the tunnel and work towards it. Because I know that if I do that, I'm not just going to be okay again. I'm going to be a better version of myself. This mindset of knowing that if I do hard things and overcome hard things, I'm going to be better will change your life. It compounds. Think about it. You'll get to a place. You'll get, well, it'll happen in two phases. First, you'll hate it, right? Hard things suck. You need to work out. You need to, but you gotta do it. Well, that's a simple one, right? But it works. You don't want to do it, you do it anyway. That kind of discipline, that's doing something hard. You don't want to do it, you're doing it anyway. That builds discipline, makes you better. But then you'll get to a place where you're realizing that this is true, that doing hard things and overcoming hard things expedites your learning and your growth. And then take a step back. If your only purpose is to get better, if you actually believe that all that matters is getting better and that doing hard things and overcoming hard things is going to expedite your path to getting better, what you're going to start to do is you start to search for the hard things, the risks that you can take on yourself, the challenges you want to overcome. You start searching for it, and you start searching for opportunities, because most opportunities are, guess what? Risks. They're outside your comfort zone. They're right in front of your face. The opportunities in this world for whatever you want in this world are endless. They're right in front of you. We don't see them because we're uncomfortable. We don't want them. They seem hard. They're hard work. They're challenging. They make us uncomfortable, stressed out, and anxious. We hide from opportunities because we see them as hard, and we're trying to escape hard constantly. We're trying to find the easy path. Choosing the hard path makes you better every single time. And once you actually believe that, and if you actually believe that your only purpose is to get better, then this, again, that self-fulfilling prophecy, well, holy crap, all I care about is getting better. And I now have many years of feeling that, so I know that if my purpose is getting better, you start to go hunting for the hard things. And the difference that will have on your life, the opportunities that you see in front of you, it's like, geez, where do I start? What hard thing do I want to pursue next, and pursue it with energy and purpose because I know it's going to make me better? It changes who you are. You'll become way more resilient. So think about it now. If you feel like when bad things happen to you, you're hurting. You don't handle that stress or pressure well. You're unhappy. You have low energy. You're crappy for the people around you because you're being impacted by the world. You're being a victim, unfortunately, to the world. And that just makes you a weak person. And I don't mean that in a mean way. I guess I'm calling you out because I was also, right? When you can be impacted from the world and you're just reacting to it, you're being beaten up because of things out of your control. How do you live life that way? Now you're at the mercy of the world. You've removed your power from living your best life. Because if you're just like going through life, I hope nothing bad happens because I can't handle it. Who are you? That doesn't need to be you. Change that on its head and know that every time you do something you don't want to do, or you overcome a tough time in your life, that you are going to be better for it every single time. If you know that, that alone will build your resiliency. And once you make a habit of it, once you make a habit of doing difficult things, your confidence grows that, oh, fuck, I can do that hard thing. I can get through this. So next time something comes at you, you know what? I've been through X. What's Y? I got this. That level of confidence and resiliency changes everything. Now everything's in your control. I don't give a shit what life throws at me. I'm getting through it because I've done it before. I'm going to do it again. And when I do it again, I'm just going to be better than I was yesterday. That mentality changes everything. And again, it's all just mentality. I just told you how my brain works now when life gets hard for me. I don't get stressed out or try to sleep in. It's the opposite. Okay, cool. And frankly, this is what starts to happen in your brain. When you get to this level of resiliency, it's like, darn, didn't get that job. Shoot, I wonder why. What did I do wrong? How can I get better next time? Bam, lost the job. Same thing. I got COVID. Darn, how do I work through this? It just doesn't matter what is coming at you. You almost just laugh it off. In the moment, you might be impacted by it, but then you immediately are looking for the solution through it because you know you're going to be better from it. Again, it takes time to develop this strength of mind, but it starts with understanding why this is so important and then holding yourself accountable to it. That next time you're going through a tough time or there's something you don't want to do, but you know you need to do it, remember this. Do it because you know you'll get better from it and you'll have more confidence for the next time that something bad happens, and you'll build that resiliency and you'll be a better person, a more resilient person. Okay, the third one, removing negativity. And obviously these aren't the only three things that are life principles for getting better, but they're the three I chose today, the three biggest ones in my mind. Removing negativity. Goodness, you don't realize how much negativity you allow in your life, whether you're the one often starting it, whether it's the negativity in your head, negativity in the words you're saying out loud, the negativity that you're receiving from other people or from the news or social media outlets. It's everywhere. People are complaining everywhere, and there's negative news everywhere. If you can figure out how to remove negativity from your life, you will change your life. All of a sudden, when everything is focused on moving forward, on getting better, on living a happy life, it's all solution oriented. So like it's like why, all of a sudden you start to realize like why are we even talking about negative things? And it starts with talking negatively about other people. All the gossip that happens, when you're just talking about other people and the negativity, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. If people are giving you negative energy, it's a waste to spend any time in a negative headspace. And so it all just comes again, like I only want to be thinking about or be in conversations or doing things that are driving a better life for me and the people around me. And so you need to find a way to remove that negativity from your life. And it starts with, I think maybe the easiest place to start, and you'll become more aware of it. You'll catch yourself when you're in a negative conversation. And that's where it starts. You'll be in a negative conversation and you'll realize it afterwards. And the next time, just change the conversation. And it starts with these little adjustments that, you're not going to be part of a negative conversation. Now the difference There may be a challenge, something that is important to you, a negative topic, something is happening, someone you care about is giving you negative energy calls, someone that's important to you. Well, now it's not just about just talking about, well, so and so is this, and they're whatever, my husband, my wife, or your kids. You're complaining about stuff. When you're complaining about stuff, that's the negativity, and that's where your head's at. It's all you see. It's all you think about. Everything that you see in the world is negative. And you don't realize the level of impact that has on you, your energy, your happiness, and you living your best life. You don't even realize it. That if all you're seeing and thinking and talking about with people is complaining, that I'm complaining out loud, I'm complaining in my head, I'm complaining to my spouse, to my friends, about my spouse, about my job, you'll realize how much of life and of news, social media, and your people around you is complaining about something. That's, in essence, the negativity, and it will fill your life if you allow it to. You don't even have to be the one that's always driving it. It's just, if you just allow it in your life, that it's going to make up your thoughts. Of course it is. And so you need to actively make the shift to remove this from your life. You need to take active steps to, instead of complaining about something, if there's something that's actually important, that you're complaining about something and it is an important something in your life, it's relevant, then you're not complaining about it. What you do, instead of complaining about it, you're just immediately, what else? Taking accountability, looking inwards and say, I'm struggling with this thing, this person, the job, whatever. Instead of complaining about it, it's, what don't I like about this situation right now? Yeah, so first of all, if it's completely out of your control or not relevant to your everyday life, then stop talking about it, stop thinking about it, it's irrelevant. So it starts off with, I guess, call it a filtered approach. Maybe that's how we'll think of the how you overcome negativity. First step, if it's irrelevant to your life, if it doesn't impact your day-to-day, stop listening to it, stop engaging in that conversation. It's not relevant, it's just negative. It's not healthy. Number two, if it is 100% out of your control, which is usually not the case, but if it's 100% out of your control, also then, it's not relevant. Stop it. Two. Number three, this is the more important one. It's where the negative thing, whatever it may be, is relevant and important to your happiness every day. It's impacting you negatively if you don't do something about it. Well, if that's the case, it's always in your control. If it's impacting your thoughts every day or impacting your life negatively, then that also means you're in control of it. So instead of complaining about it, what the fuck are you going to do about it? Do something about it. Whatever that is. And it won't be hard to find the answer. As soon as you actually ask yourself what you don't like about the situation, what you're feeling, and then you start to ask, well, what can I do about it? And you start to give it some conscious thought. You drive a solution towards feeling better, towards taking action to improve the situation, whether it's simply changing the way you think about it, approaching it differently, changing specific action in your life, getting a whole new job if that's the problem. You're in control of negativity in your life. And I think most people believe that they're not, that they're surrounded by it. That's just horse shit. If there's negativity that's outside of your control, stop thinking about it, stop engaging. If it's in your control, do something about it. If you can start doing that, but you have to hold yourself accountable and do hard things and actually make the shift. You can't hear this, realize how important it is, and then not do anything about it. You need to call yourself out as it's happening. Be aware of it. Start being aware of negative stuff in your life, of every time you complain out loud to someone else or you complain in your head. It starts there. That's the most obvious place to start. When you realize you're thinking negative thoughts, complaining in your head, complaining to anyone else about anything, stop it. Try that. Try not complaining about anything tomorrow. You won't be able to do it because you'll realize it is a habit. But what will happen is you'll be very aware of it. You will think and say negative things to yourself or about whatever. You'll complain about something tomorrow. But hopefully tomorrow you will realize that you're complaining. and you'll start that process of not. And then instead, next time, you're going to go to complain about it, and then you'll actually ask yourself your question. You know what? I'm not going to complain about this. Is this actually something that bothers me actually, or am I just complaining about it? And if it is something that actually bothers me, what can I do? What shift do I need to make in how I think about this thing or how I do something differently? These three things will change your life. And it starts with knowing that your purpose is to get better. As a human being is to get better, to be better for you and everyone else around you. And that these are simply three rules and facts of life that will expedite your path to be better. So if your purpose is clear, and these are clear facts about how to expedite your purpose, then if you're not doing these things tomorrow, then, well, you gotta take accountability for where your life is and where it's going to go if you don't start making some shifts. Okay, next topic here. So this is always a fun one. So catalysts to getting better, a little different than rules of life. And so let me describe it to you. So health and wealth, people connect these a lot. Some disagree. There's lots of controversy with especially with wealth. And so we're going to dive into this a little bit. But I see, and I've the realizations I've made for myself for the last 10 years with these two important topics is that I see them as catalysts to living my best life, becoming the best version of myself. They on their own, to me, aren't happiness. It's not necessarily my purpose, but they drive happiness. They drive purpose. They expedite purpose. And so let's talk about here. So with health, this one is pretty obvious and unanimous, right? If you are if you are healthy, then you're going to be a better person. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be more confident. You will be able to pursue life with more volition, right? So if your whole purpose is to be the best version of yourself, being healthy is like the cornerstone of it. It must start with you being mentally and physically healthy, because then you can't be your best. So if your goal is to be your best, and you know that health can be a block, right? It can be an obstacle to being your best self. Well, then it starts with getting healthy. If you aren't happy about how you are in terms of your physical health, and if you're not proud of yourself, if you're not happy and you don't love yourself for your physical health, even that alone causes the mental health to prevent you from being your best self. It's quite a health is momentum on both sides, right? So if your health is lacking, you are going to be insecure. You're not going to be proud of yourself. You're going to be unhappy. You're going to have low energy, and that's going to drive everything else. It'll even just drive your purpose itself, right? If why even try to be better if you're not physically healthy? And so it's a massive starting point on this journey of being the best version of yourself. It's a must. It will be a massive driver of becoming better if you are actively getting healthier. And it'll be the opposite. It will be a negative downward spiral that's unavoidable. If you are living an unhealthy life, I would argue you can't actually be happy. You can tell yourself that you are, but if you're actively living an unhealthy life, you can't be proud of yourself. You can't be your best, happiest, most energetic self. You aren't going to be the best for the people around you, certainly. You can't then live life to its fullest and be your happiest self if you're living an unhealthy life. You can't. Now, the difference is, just so we're clear, if you are currently living an unhealthy life, then that's the problem. I'm not saying you must be healthy to feel happy today. It's all the pursuit. So remember, when we talked about the very beginning here, the core of all of this, happiness is having clear conviction in your purpose and actively pursuing that purpose. It's not a destination of any kind. Happiness is not a destination at all. Happiness starts with your mindset, and if your happiness is purpose, it is simply just knowing knowing that you know what your purpose is and that you are actively pursuing becoming better, because that's your purpose. So you're staying with me here. If your purpose is to get better, and if actively pursuing that purpose is what makes you happy, then even if you're unhealthy today, starting the path of becoming more healthy will immediately, or should make you immediately happier today. Because it doesn't matter what you've done up till today. Nothing matters but what you've done today, other than if you're going to learn from it. Other than that, there's no point blaming yourself. There's no point, being unhappy with yourself. Just you start today. So if you're unhealthy today, you're living an unhealthy life today, starting tomorrow as the starting point of pursuing the best version of yourself, you're going to start, and it's going to be a journey of its own, living a healthier life. You're going to start eating better, exercising more, and sleeping better, likely because of those first two things. And you're going to learn how to do it, because now with this clear purpose of living your best life, if you know that health is absolutely fundamental, critical, you can't be happy without living a happy lifestyle or a healthy lifestyle. If you know that, then you're just going to figure out how to do it, right? If you actually believe this to be your only purpose, and you know that this must happen to achieve it, then you will just do it. Your why is finally there. You might have been ups and down with your why. Why should I work out? Or who cares? I'm happy like this. You're lying to yourself. Who cares? I want to enjoy life. People use that as an excuse all the time. I'm going to eat this Big Mac because it makes me feel good in the moment. Lordy. That mindset is what's making people unhappy, and they're telling themselves that they're enjoying life. No. If you start trying to be a healthier person, and in doing so, now you are actively pursuing your purpose of becoming better for yourself and the people around you, even after 2 days of starting this path. As long as you're actually pursuing it, you're trying, you're learning, and you are doing the work to become healthier, you can and will feel immediately happier. You will realize, I'm pursuing my purpose. I don't care where I am today. I don't care. It just doesn't matter. I am pursuing my new purpose, and I'm doing it the best that I can, and I'm just going to get better every day. That will drive your confidence, your direction, your purpose. You won't be healthy yet. The results are still way out there, but you're proud of yourself and confident in what you're doing. You know why you're doing it. And then guess what? Even after not that long, you're going to realize, hey, you know what? I've been doing this for a week. I can do this. You build more confidence in the fact that you can do the hard things and pursue a better version of it. It's a compounding effect. You just need to start. Don't overthink it. Don't come up with a perfect diet or new health regime. Start with the absolute basics. You're going to just start eating healthier, and you're going to exercise for 10 minutes. It doesn't matter where you start. You just need to start. The learning and the compounded learning and confidence builds when you just start. Don't overthink. You know health is critical to your happiness. Start now. Start pursuing it. Okay, that's health. Now the more controversial one, wealth. Where does wealth fit in with happiness? The classic term, right? Does wealth buy happiness? Or frankly, it's usually, wealth doesn't buy you happiness. I fully agree with what and that's coming from a guy who's spent most of his life learning how to create wealth. It's been a passion of mine. I went to school for it. I majored in finance. I worked at an investment firm for 12 years. I've built, call it substantial, personal wealth in my life. And it's important to me, and it still is. So call it even at 26, right? Over the next 10 years, I've still seen and still believe wealth to be a critical component of living your best life. So where does it fit? It is not happiness. Certainly not happiness. And it certainly won't buy you happiness based on what we just talked about, right? Your only happiness is purpose in becoming better. A better you is happiness, and pursuing a better you. Wealth is not. But what it is, and I guess it's in the title, isn't it? It is a critical catalyst, if second only to health. what wealth does, and what maybe it starts with how you think about money, right? A lot of people attach or think of money as a material item, right? Very materialistic. That if you care about money, then you are a materialistic person. You care about things. And this kind of very weak, simple argument around wealth and money it's very broad. It's easy to latch onto, right? Because then what it does is, if you think of money as almost a bad thing, like we'll call it caring about money is a bad thing, then it also creates the automatic excuse of to why you're not actively trying to create wealth, because now, those people just, they care too much about their money and material things. It's the excuse you're telling yourself to not learn how to create wealth for yourself. What wealth is for me is nothing to do with the number in the bank account. I don't attach it to a house or a car. Certainly, I don't drive a fancy car. I still drive my Altima, just so we're clear. What wealth is at the highest level, wealth is freedom. And it's freedom in even more ways than I think people realize. And so before we start talking about why it's freedom and how it creates freedom, think about what freedom in general means for your pursuit of your best self, and therefore your pursuit of being happy today. If you have more freedom of all kinds, you are more free to pursue your best self without any barriers around you. Freedom is a massive component of being happy, because it allows you to actually focus on living your best life, on experiencing life, and all that's important with life. If you don't have freedom, you're allocating such a tiny portion of your life, if you can even get there, of actually paying attention to your purpose and happiness. You're so consumed with life in itself because you're not free, that you don't have time to even think about becoming happier. So guess what? You're not going to be. So let's talk about wealth for a second here. Wealth being freedom. That's how I see it entirely. A few components to that. So wealth is, first of all, the freedom of stress and thought, right? So 50% of marriages end in divorce. I also meet that criteria. One of the main reasons for divorce, or I think it's the biggest reason for divorce, is money. Think about how insane that is. Half of relationships that started with loving each other end outright. 50% end, and many is tied, or at least in part, to financial issues and struggles. Then think about the 50% that don't end in divorce. What percentage of them are still unhappy, and how many of those relationships are consumed by financial stress? If you actually did some math, you would realize that almost everyone stresses about money. So they try to tell themselves it's not important. And yet the reality is, money, not having it, or worrying about not having enough to meet your lifestyle needs, is a constant stress. And that stress impacts your whole life. There's nothing good comes from stress. Nothing. It's a useless, doubt, stress, anxiety. It's the most harmful impact on being your best self. When you're stressed, you don't see anything but negativity or problems, fear. Stress turns into fear. And a major root cause is simply money. And think about how much worse it is, right? That we don't even realize our day jobs that most of us hate. Even if we don't even hate the job itself, we hate the fact that it removes the time from our lives. But we need to work every day for someone else because we need money. And so you don't realize how much of your stress and the stress of most people is tied to money. And yet we tell ourselves that money isn't important. I mean, we got to change that narrative. It is incredibly important, at least in the society that we live in. I mean, if you want to go, live somewhere where money doesn't matter, I mean, that might be, that's different. But the reality is, if you're listening to this, chances are you're living in today's modern society where you need money, you need wealth to live your life. You can't live without it. And so it's critical. So starting with freedom of mind, that's the starting point. That even having money to where you don't even have to think about money anymore. If you have enough money where, just buying what you need isn't an issue. You don't actually have to think about it. You're fine to spend money because you have it. That level of just removing that item from your life entirely, that level of mental freedom allows you to put that energy towards things you want to put energy towards. Even your more presence with people, removing that stress will change your life alone. So freedom of thought, of stress, right? That's the first layer. The next is the actual freedom of time. A lot of financial channels these days, they talk about freedom from the 9 to 5 or escape financial freedom, all that stuff. It's true, right? If you are able to create enough wealth to now not only not worry about it day to day, but you've created enough wealth where you don't have to work for someone else doing what they want you to do for 40 hours plus commute and call it 60 hours is probably average for most people, including all the prep time and commute that goes into working. 60 waking hours, 60 hours of when you're awake is you're only doing it. You're only working because you have to pay for life. And if you're able to create wealth to escape that 9 to 5, to leave the job and create that level of time freedom, to where now you all of a sudden have 60 more hours every week to pursue your best life, to have more positive impact on the people around you. I hope it's obvious that will change your life. And the thing is, again, that it's a catalyst, right? That if you are clear on your purpose and you are clear on your values and the person that you are, then this having wealth is a catalyst to being more you, to pursuing your purpose with more volition. Imagine 60 hours back where you don't need a day job anymore. Your life changes obviously instantly, and now you have the time to actually put your thought and energy to all the most important places, to where you to align your values with your time for the first time. That's what wealth is capable of. And we know that. It's the funniest thing. We know it because we are all working towards retirement where we don't have to work that day job, which of course is wealth being accumulated over, unfortunately, like 45 years or longer. But that's how we think of it. It's like we tell ourselves one thing, that money doesn't matter and I'm not materialistic, I don't need more money. And yet we are all waiting to when we can leave our day jobs at some retirement age that has been prescribed to you from everyone else. And so we contradict ourselves constantly in day-to-day life. And it's the craziest thing when you see it. And so creating wealth earlier, younger, faster, bigger will simply allow you to create time for yourself sooner, to leave that 9 to 5 job and to actually start living life on your terms, taking full control over your life every day. And that has always been a clear purpose of mine. Again, the purpose itself has shifted into what I'm driving towards, which is self-improvement, but the importance of wealth, that hasn't changed for me. I understand that wealth will allow me to pursue life on my terms, and it's that critical. So that's the second component of freedom, is the time. The third is the freedom of opportunity. With wealth and enough of it, there's no limits now. So if you're pursuing your best life and the greatest, whatever it is, the greatest life, your dream life, and then likely for most people, you'll realize that part of the best part of life is having the greatest and deepest positive impact on people around you and the world ultimately. That having more wealth removes barriers and it creates endless opportunities to do all of those things, to live a bigger, better life, to experience more, to have a greater positive impact. It removes all barriers and opens up endless opportunities. And so, long story short, wealth is critical. And I think most people hide from it. It can be a confusing topic, doesn't have to be. We'll talk a lot about it on this channel. We will go into a lot of segments on where to start in learning very simply how to start creating wealth and how to start thinking of money differently and how to start having it work for you in alignment with your purpose and your vision. And so, wealth, you need to start thinking of it differently. Stop being ignorant to it. Stop saying it's not something that I care about. It's not something that I need to learn. If you believe your purpose is to be better and to live your best life and to be the best person for everyone around you, as it should be, that is your purpose, then you cannot continue to ignore wealth and how to create it. You need to start paying attention. You need to start learning and be active. Go out there and figure it out. Watch my channel for sure. We'll get in deep, but you must learn how to create wealth because it is only second to health, the biggest driver of where you're taking your purpose, right? And the capacity of your purpose. It is driven by wealth. All right. Next section here. Okay. So some other, call it universal sources of happiness, right? So purpose is the first one on there and the cornerstone. You can't be happy without it. They're equal, like purpose equals happiness. That's clear to me. These others are, call it, critical sources of happiness. So as you are, pursuing a better version of yourself, you realize you are also pursuing these other sources of happiness. So the next one after purpose, for me, it starts with, loving yourself. And we talked about the accountability piece, right? That it really starts with asking yourself some hard questions. But in doing that, what you'll also be able to hopefully start doing is to start loving yourself. If you don't love yourself, you can't truly love others, at least not the way you should be able to, not as deeply, not with everything you are, because you don't even love everything that you are. So how can you? How can you be the best parent for your kids? How can you be the best spouse if you don't even love yourself? And this is again, it's all part of the journey, right? So we're not looking to jump from where we are to some end destination. The whole fun about this, having this purpose, is that it's the steps. It's just simply starting the path makes you happy today. That's it. So don't get overwhelmed with what you need to do on all these categories. We'll be talking about it on the lives to come and in all our long segments. But at the essence, loving yourself, you need to actually start learning about yourself, knowing who you are, asking yourself those questions. What are your values? And what's important to you? What does your dream life look like? How do you want to impact other people? And I think there's a few ways to do that, and we'll dive deeper into that into a future session. But you need to ask yourself some questions about the person you want to be. So you first ask yourself some present day questions, what are those values and whatnot. But if you think about, the person you want to be, you could be thinking about, call it a few people that you look up to, that you admire. And if you think about why you admire them, what are those characteristics of those people? And, start looking to find out how you can start loving yourself. If you are able to love those people and admire those other people, then what you're seeing is what do you want to be, the person you want to be. And so you can really just start thinking about and asking yourself some questions about the person you want to be, the values you want to have. And then from there, and so in future segments, we're going to go in deep on exactly where to start. So, subscribe to this channel because we will do a full hour segment on where to start this process of learning about yourself and loving yourself, and how to start that process. But ultimately, after you're asking yourself these questions, and then you start to live with in complete integrity and authenticity to that person. And this is where the loving yourself starts to happen, right? That if you know who you are, you've asked yourself that question and you've detailed it out for yourself, right? That you put it on paper, like, who am I? Who am I? What are my passions? What are my strengths? What are my values? What's important to me? What do I want from this life? What impact do I want to have on other people? What do I want other people to think about when they think of me or the person that I am or was? You ask all yourself those questions, you're going to know, who you are and who you want to be, and how you want to improve yourself. And so once you've done that, now all you need to start to do is start living your life with integrity to that person that you are and that person that you want to be. Essentially, you are who you say you are. And when you are who you say you are, and you believe in that person, that you believe in who you are, that's where you can love yourself. Right? You can't love yourself if you don't know who you are. You don't know who you want to be. You don't know how you want to be better. And especially if you're, the hardest part is if your behavior and your actions don't actually align with those values, you won't be able to love yourself. And I think it's more common than you realize. I mean, I think most people will say, yeah, I love myself for sure. Again, this is hiding from that baggage, right? It's not being accountable, and it's not looking to be better. It's not doing the hard thing of diving in deep into why you don't fully love yourself. You'd rather not go there, right? It's painful, it's hard, and so it's easier. And again, we all, unless you're living this new life with clear purpose of getting better, most people are looking for easy. They're looking to escape the hard when it should be the reverse. So what we do on this topic of loving yourself, that is a scary topic for most people. And so before they even think about the actual question, they say that they love themselves. Well, they don't. I mean, I'm sorry. Think about most people, and maybe think about yourself, honestly, for a second here. If you told yourself what your values were, what is most important to me, right? And a common answer and a good answer, family, right? And so if you have kids and you have a spouse, and I believe you that your family is incredibly important to you, and that is a value of yours, of having a close family and a deep bond and connection with your kids. I believe you that is your value and your priority. At least I believe that you tell yourself that it is. What goes wrong is that if you then look at the actions of yourself or these people who say that family is their most important thing, and yet they allow life to determine the person that they are. And what I mean by that is they allow this, call it the 9 to 5 grind, the most common. You go through a hard day at work. Every day is the same, monotonous, commute, traffic, bullshit at work, dealing with so-and-so. By the time you get home to the things that actually matter, you're not your best self. You're far from. You're not happy. You're tired. You're stressed about the next day. You're frustrated with how that day went. You're distracted. You're in your head. All you're doing is preparing dinner, stuck in your head. You're irritable. You're not engaged. You're and worse than that. So that's all stuff that you're not even doing consciously. And then when you finally get a chance to, dinner's made, you've had dinner, then it's time to actually, you have the opportunity to be with your family, the things that are most important to you. This is your life, your kids and your spouse, and it's supposed to be what drives your happiness. You say it's your biggest value, family. But what do you do when dinner is done most days? TV's on, probably sitting on the couch. Kids are doing something, not with you. Or even if they're around, guess what? You're on your phone. scrolling through social media, doing your thing, your spouse sitting beside you, maybe on their phone too. This is most people, right? And so think about that. Your values, what you say makes you who you are, is your family, and yet your family is right in front of you. They're getting old, your kids are getting older. You'll never have this time back. It's the most important thing to you. You're on your phone, scrolling through social media aimlessly. Why? Because you don't know your purpose. You're not happy, and you certainly don't love yourself. Because if you loved yourself, then your behavior would align with your values. You can't tell yourself your family is the most important thing, and yet you don't engage with your family every day, and you say that you love yourself. Doesn't line up. There's no integrity there. You can't love yourself if you don't have integrity and authenticity to who you are. And so that's one major example. It's an obvious one, and a common one. And again, this isn't to attack people. I've been there, and I still struggle with it at times. It's the awareness, right? And the improvement and the pursuit of being better. So it starts with loving yourself, and loving yourself means understanding who you are, actually knowing and understanding what your values are and what's most important to you and to your purpose of being better, and then aligning your behavior and your thoughts with those values, that integrity, that authenticity, and being genuine to who you are and what you believe. When you're doing that, you will love yourself. It's that simple. So that was a kind of a mini segment. We'll go deeper into where you can get started on this path in a future segment. I'll be probably not as deep on these next ones here because they're all just kind of compounding from the same. Loving others, right? I don't think there's there's many greater feelings in life than loving someone else so deeply and entirely, and having that love reciprocated. It's that is happiness. That's one of life's joys and miracles, that kind of feeling, that level of bond. And so, but as we mentioned, you can't love other people with the way you should be, up to your ability to actually have the capacity for love. You're lacking your capacity for love if you don't love yourself fully. And so, and this is where people kind of get it all confused. Like, yeah, of course I love my kids, I love my spouse, and you do. I'm not saying you don't. But think of it as a capacity, meaning, the magnitude of love and how deep and how much you can show and demonstrate that love, right? So if you don't love yourself, your capacity to love others is small. So yeah, you love them, but you aren't capable of giving them or receiving the love that you should be. That while you're here on this earth to experience real love, you're not. You love them, yes, but your capacity is so infinitesimal that you have every opportunity to expand on your capacity for love. It's endless, but it starts with, guess what? Being the best version of you and loving yourself thoroughly and deeply first, and living with integrity. And now, with all the confidence, energy, and being at your best, now the capacity that you can have to be present with your family every day and give them your best you, and in return get the best out of them, that's what loving others actually is. But you can't get there without purpose and without loving yourself first. All right, next, presence and gratitude. Kind of is all connected here, right? We just talked about it. Happiness is when you are fully present and grateful for all of these things, right? If you are either, there's only two things to not be present. Either you're present or you're thinking back. So, regrets, of complaining again about people, what happened. You're in your head about the past, or you're in your head about the future. So in the past, it's usually, you're angry, you're frustrated, you're sad, whatever it may be. That's the past. And when you're in your head about it, you're not your best. Or you're in the future. You're anxious, you're fearful, you're worried. If you're not present, you are in one of these places, and you can't possibly experience life and be happy. And the unfortunate thing is, most people, as we talk about those kind of two spectrums, you're usually one or the other. You're either stressing about the life that has been and it's wearing you down, you have no energy because you're just lost, or you're worried about the future. Well, in either case, you are missing life today. And whether you realize it or not, you are waiting to be happy. And maybe even worse, whether you say it out loud or not to yourself, you're wishing life to go by. And so think about that again. So if you are trying to escape life with your evenings and weekends, it's because you're trying to escape the hard. As we talked about, the hard things are the best things. It's what makes you better. It's what gives you happiness. But for most people, you're actually trying to find the easiest path forward. So guess what? When your kids are young, yeah, there's moments of course, don't get me wrong, of course you love them and you're happy and you see them. Yes, but what percentage of the time are you just focused on the complaining part? The hard part, that you don't want to do this anymore, that you just can't answer another one of your kids' endless questions. I have two beautiful kids, by the way, so we'll talk more about that too. But if what you don't realize you're doing is you're waiting and you're wishing away the hard parts, the best parts, right? You're waiting for your kids to be older because you think or believe that it'll be easier when they're older. So if you have a newborn and a 2-year-old, they're in diapers, or whatever, toddlers, it's hard. It's crazy hard. But that's what makes it the best. And most people, they don't embrace the hard. They try to escape it through the distractions, and they're waiting for it to be easier one day. They're waiting for their kids to be older for when it's easier. Whether you say it out loud or not, so many people are waiting and wishing time to go by. I mean, if that's not the definition of avoiding happiness, I don't know what is. You're literally avoiding being happy today. You're waiting to be happy for some time in the future where you think things are all going to come to this perfect, where you don't have to work, so that'll be easy, and I don't have young kids anymore, that'll make it easier, and I'll have enough money one day, and that'll make my life easier. And you're wishing your life away today. You're not happy. I'll be happy one day when all of this stuff is easier, not realizing that you're wishing away the best parts of life. Presence, gratitude, beyond powerful. If you have the ability to get out of your head on any one thing that you're doing, stop the concept of multitasking. That'll be another topic. Multitasking isn't a real thing. Efficiency, sure. Productivity, certainly. Don't confuse multitasking. My goodness, we aren't capable of multitasking. Your brain can actually only think about one thing at a time, whether you tell yourself otherwise or not. You can only think about one thing. So a way to start being more present is choosing what you're doing in that moment. What are you actually going to do in this next moment, and do it fully? If my kids come home, I'm not going to go down there and be around them to make myself feel better while I'm thinking about my YouTube live. What am I doing? I'm around my kids, and I'm in my head thinking about something else, which it's not good for either. You need to choose, what am I doing, and give that your full attention. That's what presence is. It's like, get away from all the soft, fluffy stuff. Being present is choosing what I'm doing in this moment and giving that thing your full attention. So if you're with your kids, be with your kids. If you're with your spouse, be with your spouse, not on the phone. If you need to work, go work, and work fully and hard, and absorb what you're trying to accomplish. Put everything you have into each moment of your life. If you start to do that, and it's that simple, catch yourself. Same as before, the accountability, you got to catch yourself with this stuff. When you realize where you're going wrong, you need to catch yourself. Being present simply means choosing this next 30 minutes, the next hour. You're going to have a workout. Don't distract yourself. Do whatever you need to do to get the best workout in the next 30 minutes or hour, whatever you've assigned to it. Do it fully. And then what's after that? Well, I'm going to make and eat my lunch. I'm going to, whatever it doesn't matter. Put your attention into that one thing only. And then what you'll start to do naturally, hopefully, especially if you've aligned everything else, is that you'll start to kind of time block your day in alignment with your priorities and your values. You'll make sure you are being the best version of yourself on all fronts, that you are being the best spouse and you're being the best kid, or being the best parent to your kids. So much of that comes from just being present with those people. And so you will start to change your structure of your day so that you are doing all the things you need to be doing to become a better person. And it starts with just giving your full attention to that priority in that moment. That's presence. And being grateful is, call it being more aware of what is in front of you. It's not thinking about what you don't have, not comparing to other people. Like, I mean, none of that matters, what you don't have and what other people have. Like, it's funny, we all do it. And yet when you realize how useless and how damaging that is to be thinking about what you don't have or wishing you did, being jealous or comparing, it's only damaging. And instead, if you actually just, when you're being, and it helps when you're present, when you're being fully present and with your spouse, and you realize what you have with this person in front of you and how special it is that you've chosen to live this life together, and everything that comes with it, and where you're watching your child at 2 or 3 or whatever age, and you're just watching them and being fully present and seeing the person you grew and you're raising, and you see how they're changing and right in front of you. If you are fully present, gratefulness it's right there behind it. You will be in those moments grateful for everything. When you go for a walk outside, or you're walking your kids to daycare, it doesn't matter. You will be more grateful for everything. More grateful for the fact that you live in a safe place where you can do that. For the beautiful day, for the world that we're in, you will be more grateful for everything if you just simply start becoming more aware of it and telling yourself these things, being present, reminding yourself about all the things you have in your life. Stay where your feet are today. Stop thinking about the past. Stop worrying about the future. Focus on being the best version of yourself today, and you will change your life, as we've talked about. Positive impact. Big one. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I don't even know what those, I forget what they are. I learned it in school, but it's a similar concept, right? That, it starts off with, basic security and whatnot. And over time, what drives your happiness evolves, right? And so to me, positive impact is something that most of us maybe don't allow time for. Or we haven't prioritized yet because we're so consumed with our own life, and fair enough, and that's why it's not one of the first 3 items on this list, but it also should be. It needs to be near the top of your list, because the amount of fulfillment and serotonin that is released when you have a positive impact on another person in a meaningful way, especially if that person is important to you or close to you, you almost become addicted to having positive impact, because there's very few feelings like it when you know that you have changed someone's life, even in a small way, or even in a moment of just being kind to someone who needed it in that moment. You start looking for it constantly. And guess what? That makes you a better person, obviously, because purpose equals better person equals it's all connected. And so start being better to people. Be kinder. Start there. It doesn't have to be anything more than just being more kind to people. that will start to drive everything of greater feelings of happiness, wanting to do it more, wanting to have a greater positive impact on more people. There's very few things that can parallel to positive impact. And it's connected, of course, to everything else, to the positive impact on, well, loving others, right? On your spouse, on your kids, your parents, your siblings, the people close to you. And then it often can spread from there, where your desire to have a positive impact on a broader population of people, of different needs, it becomes addictive in the best way. What's better than being addicted to helping people, helping change people's lives, and helping them to live a happier life or a better life? Very, very few things like it, and I think ultimately it's the like end result of it all. I'm not even sure how I can articulate it yet, and maybe one day that'll come to me about where it stands. But to me, it's like it's the ultimate. It's, as I I'm on my own journey here of being my best self. To me, I see, and I almost align with wealth creation as well, right? That as I create more time for myself, that I'm able to not only have such a positive impact on, my wife and my kids today, right? That's the focus, but then it spreads, right? And so I see as I grow and as I create wealth and create time for myself and have businesses, all of a sudden I have an opportunity to create, businesses or otherwise that are focused on positive impact. And I just see that as the ultimate destiny, that I'm creating the freedom first for myself, to give myself the time and the resources to free up my capacity and my ability to have the greatest positive impact. And that's ultimately what I'm working towards, that, if there's one destination, I'm trying to think of a destination, but it's to have the greatest possible positive impact on the world, starting with the people closest to me and expanding from there over time and evolving over time. That's how I think of positive impact as a source of happiness. It's very few parallels. And then this one more specifically, loving others is, that's, relationships as well as just people in general. But I put raising a family on here, and this one's more specific than the others. But I put it on here because of, how my life changed, and my capacity for happiness and fulfillment, how it changed when I had kids. Up until that point, I'd already been on a journey for quite a while. I have a 1-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl. And so I've been on this journey of pursuing purpose and happiness for many, many years. I found my wife, Tiffany, and we just continue to grow together. She is my soulmate, and the person that makes me want to be better. What was I getting at? Before having kids, my capacity for happiness had already grown so much in all of this pursuit and these connections and getting better. But probably the greatest leap in my capacity for happiness was not only the birth of my daughter, 3.5 years ago, but it grows constantly in their growth. It's wild because it is, they're a connection of you. They are you. They're the next you. And so when my daughter was born, it's like every month that goes by where I have greater responsibility, greater impact on her life. I see her evolve more and grow and learn and change into her own version of her best self as a 3.5-year-old. And now my son to follow is an entirely different human being, born and raised with the same family. They're opposites and equally perfect. And so I don't think I would have put raising a family on here before then. And I thought it was too specific, but to me it's not. That raising kids, whether if you don't have the ability to have them naturally, whether adopting, it doesn't really matter. If that feeling of raising humans from a young age and being responsible for raising those people and helping to shape their life and setting them up to live their best life as the best versions of themselves. Nothing on this list can be related to that feeling. And so, and for that reason, do yourself a favor. And if you are planning to have kids, or you do, start fulfilling your purpose. Start being the best version of yourself so you can be the best version for them and actually be present and grateful for everything that they are, every moment of their growth. It's all connected together into finding your happiness here. Maybe sharing just a little bit more of my journey. So I shared up until I was 26, and I hit that low, and all of what I share with you today has been, a lot of my learnings kind of packed into an overview, I guess, of some kind. But my path from when I was 26, so I was, I got divorced. It wasn't the right relationship, and I take 100% accountability for everything to do with why it happened, why it went wrong, and why it failed. But what came from that, of course, is all the learning about how to be better moving forward, first for myself and for the next person that I decided and made a choice to live my life with. And so Tiffany, I met maybe 8 years ago now, something like it, or I guess I met her well before then, but became that person for me. And from there we started this path together of trying to be better, trying to figure out our own happiness. So I climbed the corporate ladder for a while at work, focused on getting better, building leadership, climbing that corporate ladder, and creating wealth, continued that growth with Tiffany and then now our kids, it was just over 2 years ago where we made the decision to quit our corporate jobs fully. We had created the wealth for ourselves to give us that opportunity, right? So again, we talked about wealth creating that opportunity. We had done enough for ourselves where we gave ourselves the ability to look at ourselves and say, the next step for us to get better and live our dream life and grow more was to leave that 9 to 5. And so we both quit at the same time before even starting our new business. Believe it or not, we just quit. We knew the business we were going to try and build. It's a short-term rental business. Some of you may know that or not if you follow on Instagram. From there, I would say our ability, again, from the time, right? So when you aren't living life on someone else's terms, that 9 to 5, when you are truly living your own life, even if you're still building a business. So I don't mean not having anything to do. We worked harder than ever. We worked way more than the 40 hours a week, but your ability to grow, it comes with that time and that control of your time. And so I'd say that over the last 2.5 years has been by far the greatest experience of growth for us, that it was steady and constant for years. We continued to try and be a better version of ourselves the next year and the year after that. And we certainly were. And we shared it every year as well. We acknowledged it every year. Tiffany and I would talk about, more than once, but definitely at the end of every year, we'd talk about the year that was, how we grew from the year before that, and what we're going to do the next year. And we did it together. Well, I'd say we did it very individually and together, which was the key. And we supported each other along the way. And ultimately that led to the decision of quitting our jobs to try and build a business together. And it's been the hardest thing we've ever done for so many reasons. Of course, with a 1 and 3-year-old, makes it that much more difficult. But I believe it's the freedom to live our own life. It's not freedom from work. Let's again be clear. The hard work, the work is what makes you better and what gives you your happiness and your purpose. So it's not that we have more time to do nothing. It's we have more time that's within our control. We decide every day what we do with our business, with our lives, how we marry the two together, what that needs to look like for us to live our best lives for ourselves, for each other, and for our kids and our family. We choose exactly what that looks like. And so I share this to kind of share that path, and maybe also to share what that freedom from 9 to 5, what it can actually do for you. And it doesn't need to happen anytime soon, as long as you are consciously progressing towards that freedom. Because there's other than raising kids, there's no other, the level of growth from trying to build your own business, of living as an entrepreneur, to figure out how to create wealth and make money yourself, for yourself and people around you. It's just been a crazy expedited path of personal growth and growth with each other, and the bond that we have with each other and our kids, everything, again, the capacity where we thought, and don't get me wrong, we had great jobs. We both had high paying jobs. We enjoyed our jobs. We liked the company we worked for. And we still knew and realized that in order to continue our path for growth, and maybe to expedite it, we hoped, was to go out on our own and create life truly for ourselves now, to truly be independent from anyone else. We chose everything. That was the decision that we made, knowing it was going to be hard. And it's been harder than we expected, and way more rewarding and way more fulfilling. And it's only just started. And so I thought my capacity for happiness before we quit was almost topped out with my beautiful family, my kids. We had, we were doing all the things, and I felt incredible. And yet it's funny to look back and realize how much I've changed, how much Tiffany has changed in the last 2.5 years while trying to raise 2 kids in diapers while building a business. I mean, we are just way better versions of ourselves than we were 2 years ago. And that's what it's all about. So I guess that's just, I want to share the rest of my story, if you will. I shared the first part in the beginning, and that's kind of just a quick glance at where we've gone since. But future videos will share more details on all of it, why we quit, how we started this business, what this business is all about, and why it's a great opportunity. All these things are, and more to come. So just to end off here, I just have almost a laundry list of, once you make this connection, once you actually realize and believe that your purpose, your only purpose, the only thing that matters is to be the best version of yourself and to get better every day. If that is the only thing that matters to you, you will live the best life for yourself and for everyone around you. There's no other way. It can't be any other way when you realize how life works. If you are in control, the only thing you're in control of is yourself, then if you're doing everything you can to be better in all aspects that align with your values, every day you're just looking to improve, how do you not live your best, most fulfilling life? It's not possible. You will. Whatever that life is, however it unfolds, you will live it. And that's why believing that is your purpose is self-fulfilling. And so you just need to believe it and start. You start tomorrow on, I'm going to be better tomorrow. And make it as simple as you like. One quick tip, I don't think we covered it before. A quick tip on getting better, no matter what you choose, health, wealth, better communicate. It doesn't matter, wherever you want to start in terms of being a better version of yourself. A simpler, easy way to start, instill habits for yourself, daily habits, something very simple that you're going to do differently or better starting tomorrow. And it's just something that you're going to do every day. Make it really simple, really easy to achieve, frankly, because then you will do it. But the power of habits means once it actually becomes a habit, You're just going to do it without thinking. And if it's something that's positive, it's going to make you better, call it 10 minutes of exercise. Make it 5. Wherever you start, it doesn't matter. Make it 5 minutes of exercise every day. If you don't exercise at all, make it 5. But every day moving forward, you are going to find 5 minutes to exercise. It's not about the result or whether 5 minutes has an impact. It doesn't matter. The point is you're implementing something every day that you can't be argued is going to make you a better person. So whatever the topic is, make it the simplest daily habit that you can come up with to start. Because the key is that you do it. And so make it simple, do it every day. Then once it becomes a habit, once it is a habit, you start adding to it. Whether you add to that same item, like increasing the amount of activity, or talking about adding food and being healthier, or whether it's a different topic, you're essentially starting to change and evolve your daily habits, because your habits are who you are. Whatever habits you have in place, they define your life. We don't have time to actually consciously think about all we're doing every day. It's habitual. So you need to change your habits to become a better person. Change your habits of the way you think everything is habits. So again, that's a quick tip. But then this is a short list of what it could be 100 pages on why when you have your purpose to be your best self, everything else falls into place. And we've talked about it, that if you're better for everyone else around you. You're going to wake up with a clear why. You're going to take accountability for everything, and when you do that, you focus on the things that only you can control, which will lead to the best results and give you more. It's all self-fulfilling. And so there's a laundry list for you, and it can go on forever, and you're going to come up with your own. So that's it for today's live session, and I'm looking forward to future lives and way more segments on getting into the details, the subcategories that fall under life itself. We're going to cover it all, and we'll get specific on how you can take actionable steps to close the gap, not even close the gap, just to start getting better on whatever you want to be getting better on. So if you think this content might be valuable for you, click subscribe. We're just getting started. We're going to have some fun.